Japan's new Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has proposed the idea of an Asian NATO as a serious attempt at collective defense, which has received fierce opposition from China. The Chinese Communist Party insists that countries in the region only engage in bilateral negotiations with China, which favors its economic and military position, which it can use as leverage against any country that chooses to negotiate with it. However, most countries in the region understand the disadvantages of these negotiations and will usually choose to forego negotiations to avoid raising the ire of China. Japan's post-World War II foreign policy approach is based on two factors, and that is internationalism and the US-Japanese alliance. This is due to the Japanese constitution forbidding the deployment of its armed forces overseas unless it aligns with the approach of either supporting internationalism, such as serving as peacekeepers on a UN peacekeeping mission, or supporting the US-Japanese alliance. Prime Minister Ishiba uses the Japanese philosophy of armed forces to establish a collective security agreement in the region, similar to the NATO alliance. Japan maintains formal ties with NATO as part of its Indo-Pacific Partner Program, but this proposal is not to extend NATO into Asia, but to create an Asian version of it. An Asian NATO would formalize an alliance that truly enacts collective security, as outlined in NATO Article 5, which is simply an attack on one is an attack on all. This would serve as a deterrent to China, as it would lose the ability to threaten a member country with a military response, as military force used by China against a member state would require a military response from the alliance. This is a contingency that China wants to avoid, and why it is a vocal opponent of the idea. However, not all countries share the same perspective on the threat posed by China. Many Asian countries are part of the Global South and would see an Asian NATO as an attempt to extend the West's influence over developing nations. The aftermath of World War II and the suspicions of the Global South make it unlikely that a Japan-led Asian NATO alliance would garner significant support in the region, so would require the US to lead the alliance. However, the US, like China, appears to be opposed to the idea.